ladies. So here I am in my chicken coop. Eggs are one of the most critical ingredients in our lives, and one of the dishes that has been on our menus since as long as I can remember is the famous Scotch egg. And we do a wild venison and free-range pork Scotch egg that I think is to die for. And loads of people have asked if I'll do this recipe, so I thought, why not? Today's the day. But of course, a Scotch egg starts with its ingredient. Now we know the venison's good. We harvest it, we prepare it. These girls have an amazing life. So I've got 11 chickens. Oh. It looks like they've broken one. They do break the odd one. And you can see we've got different colours. So these are Morans, which are the black chickens, produce a gorgeous egg, very deep yolk, really beautiful. And I get 11 eggs a day. The little blue ones are called leg bars, and they're 𝗖𝗁𝘁 leg bar is the breed, and they produce these blue eggs, again just delicious. They're naughty chickens. They're the Jack Russell of the chicken world. The leg bar's always the last to go to bed. If I come out to shut them away against Mr. Fox, the leg bar is always outside going, no, I'm not going to bed yet. Interesting. Chickens have characters too. Well, I've got a lovely basket of eggs, and I've picked 4 that are about the same size. And when you're making Scotch eggs, that's key. The whole purpose of this is that the white is cooked when we boil them, the yolk's still reasonably runny, and then when we deep fry them in the breadcrumbs and the venison and pork mix, then you know, the yolk still stays runny. But if you don't get the white cooked, it'll never get cooked, so we've got to do that. Okay, I'm putting all 4 in my pan of boiling water, and I'm going to put them in gently. I don't want to crack them if I can avoid it. And I'm going to put them in for 5¼ minutes, just to be sure. 5¼ minutes. That is the magic for medium-sized eggs. There we go. And always set a timer on your iPhone or a kitchen timer like that. Saves your life. Right, while that's cooking, while the eggs are boiling, I'm going to get my meat for the sausage meat into here. So what am I using? Well, I'm using 2 types. I'm using prime wild venison mince, okay, from my lovely deer larder. And as a blatant plug for my business, if you'd like some of our beautiful venison, you can buy it from us at Robinson Wild Foods. Hang on, out it comes. And this is mince that's been taken off the neck and the shoulder and the ribs, and it's gorgeous. And I'm going to just put my gloves on to mix it. It's 50-50 venison mince and pork, and it's pork shoulder and neck, same as I use in sausages. Put through the mincer twice, and it's got plenty of fat in it. First things first, masses of seasoning, pepper. This is where the flavour comes out. I want it to be a really flavoursome Scotch egg. Lovely. Salt. A good pinch of salt like that. And I'm using parsley. Now, I'm not adding loads of different flavours like mustard and things like that. I want it simple. Salt, pepper, parsley, pork and venison. Now I'm going to mix away for a couple of minutes until I can't see any difference between the colour of the meats. So you're going to come back when this is all done, and we'll be ready to start thinking about measuring it out. Okay, so I'm now taken a piece of mixture that is about the same size or a little bit bigger than the egg, and I'm just working that out in my hand. Now, a good way of doing this, if you're worried, is to get a piece of parchment like that and use it as a base to flatten it out against. You're trying to make a rough disc, and the key to this for me, I put it down like this, is then making it so that it is the same thickness all throughout. Now, when this is cooked, I want the meat to be cooked but just a little bit pink around the egg. So if I make this about 1/8 inch or 5mm thick all round, that's a beautiful shape. Okay, so we're going to make one to start with. I've got 1½ minutes left. before I do anything, I'm going to go and fill my bowl with ice so that I get to plunge these eggs straight into iced water to stop the cooking process dead, and that is key. So I'll be back in a minute. And here we go. Let's get these eggs out, and they're going straight into our iced water. There we go. Now, by plunging them straight into iced water, the inside of the egg should just sort of contract a little when it hits the ice water. Hopefully that'll make it easier to peel them. Now, my advice is when you first start trying to make Scotch eggs, and I say trying to make Scotch eggs, this is a bit of an acquired skill. I haven't done it for ages because I'm lucky enough to have people in the restaurant who are really good at it. But there is a real skill to it. You have to be really gentle at the unpeeling, and you often screw up one or two. If you do, well, you're just going to have to boil some more eggs. Let's keep making the mixture here and make sure that we've got 4 of those patties all nicely rolled out. So there's our first one, good to go. So here's our 4 patties ready to go. Now I'm going to take a couple more eggs, and I've got a little bit of milk here, just sort of half a cup, I don't know, just a sort of splash of milk. And then here we've got a couple more eggs. And that's our egg wash. And this is an integral part What have we got? Well, we've got flour, egg and breadcrumb, okay? And that's the magic order. So once I've peeled my eggs, first the egg goes into the flour, then it goes into the egg wash, and then it gets finished in the breadcrumbs. And that's just the simple way of doing this. Next comes the really hard bit, the bit that stymies everyone, that is peeling the egg while it's still runny in the middle, and it's hard. Next thing to do is to start crackling the egg white. And I don't want this yolk runny, but I do want it soft, and that's kind of the margin where you want to look for. So you gently crackle it all round, and then just get inside that little membrane there like that, and start working it out. Oh, come on. Ha! Perfect. So this is the perfect Scotch egg for a Scotch egg. So look, if I squeeze it, you can still see she's bouncy in the middle. Absolutely gorgeous. So I've got my best egg here, and first thing I'm going to do is flour the actual egg itself. You have to really hold it with an open hand, and then we're going to pick up one of our patties here, and I'm going to drop the egg in the middle. Now, using our water, you wet your hands. Okay, step away from the flour, and I start bringing everything together like this. Bring it all together like so. And if you've got an excess, nip it off, because you don't want thick bits. And the key is the seal. You've got to seal up this egg in its meat like this. Really pinch it together, seal it, pinch it, seal it, but don't squeeze it because you mustn't rupture the egg inside there. Okay, so wet hands, really nice wet hands. This can only be done by hand. And now you just work away at the egg, okay? Work away at it, gentle hands, sealing up any of those little cracks that you see. It needs to be a seamless piece of meat. And if you think you've smoothed it enough, smooth it some more. I don't like sausage meat that's too fine because I like it to have texture. I like to see what I'm eating. A lot of Scotch eggs, the sausage meat's very, very fine, literally like sausage. So this one isn't, and that's good for me, but it does increase the chance of it cracking when it hits the heat. So the more you work it now, the more you seal it, more likely you have of total success. So that one feels pretty darn good. It's nice and smooth. Don't see any cracks. So where do we go from here? Okay, next, back in the flour. So beautiful. You can see we've sort of retained the egg shape. Now into the egg wash, as we call it. Now, here's a key tip. Into the breadcrumbs, like so, and then the dry hand lifts up the crumbs and rolls it around. Not the wet hand, otherwise you build up an inch thick coating on that hand. And there you have it, a Scotch egg. And I think we're going to fry this baby and just eat it because it's going to be so tasty. Okay, I'm going to wash these hands, finish the other ones, and then we're going to fry these eggs. My deep fryer here with clean oil, 2 at a time. In she goes. There we are. 2 eggs, perfect, just enough to get the oil level to the top, and I'll just roll them around in there to make sure they do. Now, you notice I'm not frying it at incredibly high heat. It's at 170 degrees Celsius, which according to this is 338 Fahrenheit. Now, it's really important that we get the temperatures precise here. You know, 170 degrees seems to be the right level because it needs long enough to cook in the oil for the meat to be fully cooked, but without the breadcrumbs going too brown before you hit that time. And the time for that is 5 minutes. So we're giving this 5 minutes of cooking and it should be absolutely spot on. So my eggs are just about done. They've had 5¼ minutes in the oil. There we go. There's my timer. There's our beautiful egg. Look at that. Lovely. Now, one really important thing with the Scotch egg is to rest it. So we're going to let these eggs rest for 3 minutes before we serve them. So, Scotch eggs. It's a bit of a labour of love, but they're really worth doing. And the great thing about these is you can make loads, keep them in the fridge ready to go, or you can cook them and have them later. Okay, moment of truth. Here we go. Oh, hello. That's what I was after. Meat's cooked, white's cooked, lovely runny yolk. Bit runnier than normal, but I've got to say, sprinkle them with that salt. Here we go. One of the greatest traditional British pub treats. This just kind of elevates it. Meaty venison, juicy pork. Amazing eggs, like from 50 yards over there. Yum. Scotch eggs, messy but nice.